Wow, we're in week 11 already. It's a 16-week training program, so we are pretty quickly getting to our event date. We are hopefully been very consistent over the last few months, and right now, after a pretty decent amount of FTP work in this last training block, you're feeling like you can get up a hill at a decent pace and get home again without feeling completely exhausted. Now, because we've been doing so much at pace climbing work with the FTP work, next week's recovery week is pretty important. You need to give the body a chance to reset and refresh. At the end of these blocks by now, because they're getting pretty big, you should be nearly starting to struggle in that last week and go, geez, am I going to get through this? And some of you may not have been able to complete the sessions as prescribed, but that's okay. That's just the way it works. Some people can get through it, some people can't, but the point is you're pushing yourself to a point of fatigue so that your body can adapt to it. So what I want to highlight is next week's recovery week is pretty important to do a lot less than what you're used to doing. If you can throw in an extra recovery day in there, maybe get a massage, maybe just do all you can to reset for these last final 3 weeks of training you've got before your taper week leading into the event. A lot of the common questions I'm getting now when people are getting confident about going up the hills a bit quicker is, how do I know what group I should aim to go in? And what I've tried to do is come up with a scientific way of doing it, if you like. And what I've done is relied upon Strava and some power meter data to make a bit of a chart. So what you're looking at is a chart that represents watts per kilo. So what I did was use Strava, and what I did was go find a segment that matched the Three Peaks course. And then what I did was go through all of the finishing times, and there was over 2,500 people have done this complete segment, and found people with power meters to be able to see what watts per kilo they're doing over certain time frames over the Three Peaks course. So the 20-minute time frame is quite often the Toowoomba climb. The 1 hour time frame is quite often the Hotham climb. And then of course the 2 hours is usually Hotham and beyond. And then usually the 6 hours is pretty much Toowoomba all the way up Hotham and around the back. So what we're seeing is an 8-hour group all the way through to a 13-hour finish time. And what I've done is gone through and take 3 or 4 people from each approximate finish time and taken their watts per kilo and then taken a group average, and that's what you see in the red. So what I did was use Strava and then find a segment that matches up pretty well with the Three Peaks course. And the one I found was this Scody Three Peaks loop, which matched up with my time pretty much to the second and seems to be pretty spot on for everybody else's. So what I did was go through this segment and I found the fastest times through to the slowest times, and there's a lot of people who have done it. There's 105 pages, and that's 2,620 people who have actually got a time. So what I did was scroll through this and try and find the time frames, the finishing times, either on the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or 13 hour finish time. And what I did was find someone, if I go back to mine here, I found someone with power who finished around the on the hour finish time. And what I did was go to, if they've got a power curve, I went power curve. And then from that power curve, I went watts per kilo. And then what I did was check what their 20-minute time was. So mine was 4.78, and then I went 1 hour, which was 4.3, and then I went 2 hours, which was 3.9, and then I went 6 hours, and that was 3.27. And I did that for 4 people who finished around the hour group for each hour from 8 through to 13. And then I've put it into that chart and taken the average of the 4 people I randomly selected, and that's what you're seeing there in watts per kilo. Now what I also found for the rides was, for each individual that I went in to look at their power, I could also see their moving time versus their elapsed time. So, and I started to see a pattern emerge that the faster finishing times had less stopping time. And that was pretty consistent until you got through to maybe the 12 to 13 hour group. There was some big differences then in how long people were stopping for. If people hadn't have stopped in some of the 12-hour groups or the 13, they could have nearly done it 2 hours faster. So there was a lot of stopping time. So some people are either focused on getting a good time or just focused on having a good time potentially and stopping at the bakeries and having something to eat at the food stops. So for me, I was 7 hours 37 moving time and 7:45 elapsed time. And you can see that. So you can do this yourself. You can go through and pick someone in a time frame that you think you're going to finish in and see what their moving time was versus their elapsed time was. And this... Okay, so I hope that that little run through of how I collected that data in Strava will help you choose. I'll give you a bit of confidence of what time you might be able to finish it in. Remember, there's two things to take from it. The first one is how much power you need to be doing up the climbs for a certain finish time. And the other one is the elapsed time versus the time on a Garmin. So what we're seeing is the slower groups tend to have a lot more stopping time. So that's a big chunk. If you can practice in your training rides to not stop as much, you can knock off, an hour and a half of elapsed time, therefore have a quicker finishing time. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to run through. I've created a Strava HPTek Peaks Challenge training group. It's up on Strava. The link's in the description of this video. If you are following the program, jump onto that group, and what I want to be able to do, because I'm inquisitive to see what some people's rides are looking like, jump on that group so I can have a few people to look at. I'll look at a few of them to see what these sessions are looking like that I'm prescribing. I'm very interested to see on paper or on Strava what they're looking like and how hard they are for some people versus others, and then how big people's training weeks have been that are following the various training programs. The other important thing is that as of the end of this weekend on the 3rd of February, the prices are going up again to sign up. So if you haven't signed up, you've got a couple of days left over the weekend to jump on and make sure you signed up for the event. Otherwise, the prices are going up again. Now, remember, there are some training rides. There's some in South Australia, Queensland and Victoria. There's about half a dozen scheduled rides left. If you can jump into those if you're in the area, everyone should be getting pretty fit, moving a little bit quicker up the hills. Those group experiences are going to replicate what you're going to be doing on the day and give you some confidence to hopefully know a few friendly faces to be riding and sharing the experience with as of March 10th. Now, the last thing is I'll do another Facebook Live chat on February the 6th, which is next Wednesday, where I'll go through, I'm sure I'll get lots of questions about this chart that I've made, about the next training plan coming up, or the training blocks. I'll answer some questions there. It'll be a short 15 to 30 minutes where I'll cover as much as I possibly can. Okay, now I've been a bit lazy this last week. I had a good block through Christmas and New Year where I was feeling pretty good, but to be honest, work's got the better of me. I'm going to go out for a ride right now, hence the cycling kit, and I'm going to try and start doing plenty of climbing repeats. And look, from here on in, for me, I feel like I'm a little bit behind the ball, but I'm not too worried. I know I've got plenty of time to be able to get some legs again and get some confidence on the day. I've got a pretty quick time of 7 hours 45 to live up to, and that 8-hour group is pretty quick. And a lot of people are scared at this point in time about, am I ready to go for this? And look, I'm in the same boat right now, but I think if I can nail down over the next month or so, I should be pretty good. I've ticked all the boxes. I've had a good base. I've had consistency. I've just got to get this last sort of finishing block done, and I'll know I'll be okay. So don't dismay if you're in the same boat. Stick your helmet on, get out the door, get them done, and hopefully we'll all be okay. Okay, I'll see you next video. Until then, I hope to see you on the Strava group, and safe riding.